Hey everybody, which is really just Thomas. All right, man, we're gonna try and do a Prusik today. So the point of a Prusik is that you can move it along a rope. So you can, it's a friction knot, and it sort of binds one rope to another, and you can use it to add tension to systems. You can use it to capture progress if you're like pulling a rope up a hill, or pulling somebody through a system, or climbing the rope. That's kind of what a Prussik's for. So the basics of it is, I'll just do one, but you're gonna take your loop, and all you do is you're just gonna make a bunch of turns around the rope. And usually if they're the same size, we do like 3. And the middle part of the rope, or the middle part of these loops, you want them to be pretty organized, so that when you're done, actually, I'm gonna do this differently. So I have I don't really want the knot, like, I want it to be just to the side of where I end up, actually. So I'm gonna redo this. So I'm passing the knot through this piece, if that makes sense. And then when you're done, it'll look like this kind of coil of rope, where the part you're gonna clip should be coming out of the inside, and then where it attaches the top and bottom, that should be on the outside, and then kind of coming across here. Does that make sense? So you end up with kind of this kind of a shape. So you have these coils, outside comes across and back into the coil, and then it comes out the middle. And this is actually really strong. So it'll bite the rope hard enough that you can actually hang on one of these. But you can also pretty easily just kind of like break it up and make it loose and move it, and then kind of tighten it up, and it'll lock in again. And so you would clip into, you know, this to do a bunch of different things. But usually it's like if somebody had fallen or something, you could actually pull this rope up with this carabiner attached to some kind of anchor. And as you pull the rope up, you keep making this Prusik tighter. That kind of makes sense. You can grab your progress.
Nice.
Yeah. Were you able to kind of tie one of those?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do it because I don't have a lot of rope right now. So I'm trying to figure out
how to practice it. It doesn't have to be tied around a rope. For practice, you can tie it around, you know, like a table leg, or your leg, or your dog's leg, or something like that. But this is called a Prusik, or some people say Prusik, but same thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's just a series of, it's just turns around a rope. But I use these a lot if I want to get a rope really, really tight, because I can pull the rope real snug and have a buddy, you know, or whoever else I'm with, just kind of slide this down and keep the rope nice and tight with it. This one's nice. A Prusik is nice because it's easy to tighten it, and to loosen it. You just kind of take this bar, that's what they call this part of the knot that comes across here, and if you kind of just flick it with your thumb, that's usually enough to loosen it up. And so it's really easy to tighten and loosen. So you can actually ascend a rope. So with a system of 2 of these, one of these is attached to your harness, the other one makes a leg loop, and you can actually slide the top one up and sit in your harness, and then slide the bottom one up and put your foot in it and stand up in that foot loop, and then slide the top one up and sit in it, slide the bottom one up for your foot, and then stand up in it. And so you kind of can make progress up a fixed line that way.
Nice. Yeah, I think I got it. Let's see if I can show you.
Yeah.
I did it on this decorative bowl we have.
That's great. That's perfect, except where the loop comes up,
Mm-hmm.
or like where the bar comes out of the knot and across, you really want those to be on the outermost part of the knot.
So like out.
Yeah.
Out.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Oh wow, yeah,
And
that's a lot tighter.
it's a lot tighter, and it makes it the bars more effective to loosen it when you flick that bar. Yeah, to kind of loosen it up. But anyway, yeah,
Nice.
that's a new use for your decorative basket there.
Yeah.
So now take that off, and I'll show you a one that's easier to tie, but harder to like undo, and it's called a Clem Heist. So to do a Clem Heist, you take that same loop, and you're going to wrap it from the top. So like if you imagine we're climbing up that way, so that's the top of the cliff. From the top, you're going to just straight wrap it around the rope downward. Probably 3-4 wraps, and then it just goes back up through the top like that, and then pulls down. And then this one you can clip. And this one is easier to tie. It's quite a bit faster, but it's kind of directional. So this will go up, but it will not come back down until you untie it. Or if you really fiddle with it a whole lot. But once you weight it, it tends to get stuck. So it's kind of one directional. But yeah, it's simpler to tie, quicker to tie. And we use these a lot climbing, mostly for guide stuff, like if we need to do a backup or something like that, ascend the rope to rescue somebody. We'll often use this if we're just going up, and we'll have time to deal with it at the top before we come back down or whatever.
Sort of like this.
Yep, that's great. Yeah, that's it. That's totally it. Yeah, so there's two friction knots
Nice.
to like help you. Yeah, if you ever need one, they're really handy. And if you have the cordage for it, you can use one of these to make guy lines tight and other stuff. Obviously, you don't really need to have the carabiner in the system necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. From there, maybe I'll stop the recording. Well, I'll just include it. What the heck? The other thing that you can do with one of these is create what's called a Z pulley. And to do that, you would put the end of the rope, which let me see if I can find the end of my rope. There we go. You take the end of your rope, which is anchored over here, and you just come back from your anchor back through this carabiner. And for this, it really does need to be something metal, because if you do this cord on cord, you'll cut the cord. But you can see how this vaguely makes a Z, where it goes out here and then back and then down here and like a Z. So it's called a Z pulley, and there's no real pulley, but we use the carabiner as a pulley. And this lets you pull cord through this carabiner and make a 2-to-1. So you can get a lot of force. And then if it's enough rope that you want to take up, you can get this real tight, and as the rope stretches or the tree bends or the raft moves a little but doesn't get free, you have your buddy then grab this line and hold it tight, and then you slide the whole system back up the rope, and then you can draw in even more rope as you go.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a really good way to get a lot more force over some distance. And you can even add another carabiner at that end and do, even more mechanical advantage. So really, really, really handy. I use these occasionally if I'm doing a slack line
Nice.
like a hand line maybe. Normally with a slack line we'd have webbing and not cord, but you can actually do these on webbing. They work okay. The actual Prussiks and Klemheists, but it has to mash the webbing down, and so usually you need like at least a couple extra reps. But they do work okay. Yeah. Any questions?
No questions. Just can't do that one because I don't have cord with me right now. But theoretically, yeah, I totally understand it.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks for coming. I'm gonna turn off the recording.
No worries. Do